Hey, it's Chris. Today I want to share some of my favorite iPhone tips while also talking about what's on my iPhone. So check this out. This is my current home screen right now. Pretty unconventional. Why? Because it's got some hidden widgets that I created using an app called Clear Spaces, which I found out about from Canoopsy. Now, obviously it looks ridiculously clean, but it's also super functional because it keeps the apps that I get the most use out of right within thumb's reach. So I've actually got 4 invisible or cloaked widget stacks here. One is kind of for audio stuff. I got Apple Music, podcasts, and Audible there. And then one's for high priority notes. I got one for calendar and to-dos, and one that's just for system stuff like battery levels. You know, like the battery widget, you don't want to have that sitting out all the time because it doesn't look cool, but if I can hide it away, it's nice to be able to reference it so I know how much juice I got left in the AirPods. And yes, before you even type it, because I know about 100 people are trying to right now, I'm gonna link up the wallpaper for you down in the description because wow, does it look good, especially on the lock screen, which brings up tip number 1. Don't forget that you can swipe down on your lock screen to access search. You don't have to unlock your phone first. Now, as you can see, I've got 12 apps on my home screen, including the ones in the dock. And just to make this video a little bit different, a little less boring, I'm not just gonna go through and say, here's the apps that I have. Instead, I wanna go a little deeper and share with you who I'm following, what I'm watching, what I'm listening to within each of these apps. But before we do that, I should show you my second home screen, which is actually dedicated to crypto apps. And we're not gonna get into these apps in this video. Maybe I'll save it for a future video, my favorite crypto apps. But you might wanna check out my new free crypto newsletter called the Great Onboarding, which goes along with my new course, Crypto and Web3 for Absolute Beginners, which I'm gonna link up in the description. All right, before we get into the apps, how about another tip? Nitro coffee is the best coffee. Oh, you wanted an iPhone tip. Got you. Apple's live text feature is great, but you don't have to go to the trouble of taking a picture in order to use it. Instead, open the camera, hit the scan button, and then you can highlight, copy and paste, etc. without actually snapping a photo. All right, let's get into my podcast app. I'm using Apple Podcasts right now, and there's 15 or 20 podcasts that I subscribe to, and whenever I listen to a podcast episode, I do it at 2 times speed. Now that absolutely drives the people around me nuts when they get in the car or something, they hear it like blah, 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 so fast. But here's what I did though. I started at 1.25 until that started sounding normal, and I gradually ratcheted it up until I got to 2. And now it's like a superpower because I can listen to an hour-long podcast in 30 minutes. So some of my favorite podcasts right now include My First Million for entrepreneurial insights, Wall Street Journal's What's News, just for quick news, and then Proof and Modern Finance are 2 of my favorite crypto-related pods. And they're from Kevin Rose, the OG behind Dig. Do you guys remember that? And then also Unbelievable, which hosts dialogues between Christians and skeptics. Of course, all throughout the day, I'm messaging, but a cool messages tip is that you can go beyond tapbacks and actually drag your Memoji onto a message like a sticker and it'll stay stuck. All right, let's talk music, specifically Apple Music. I ditched Spotify a while back and there's things I miss about it, but I'm pretty happy with Apple Music. Now, at least once a week, I try to ask Siri to play me some new music so I can discover something new. But lately I've been listening to some Neverland 2 by You Know Who, Apple's Piano Chill, Bedtime Beats and Astral Escape playlists, and also some electronic stuff here and there. I like to work to that in the background. Now, one of the most annoying situations on your phone is when you scrolled way down deep in a timeline, maybe in Instagram or Twitter, and you got to get back to the top. Well, one of the best tips ever and also one of the most forgotten, I can't believe how many times I could use this and I just forget about it, is just to tap on the time at the top of an app to immediately scroll back up to the top. All right, I'm super into audiobooks. It's a great way to absorb knowledge, and yeah, I listen to those at 2 times speed as well, so I cram a lot in my head. So Audible's the obvious place to do that. And I really like Audible's clips and bookmarks feature, as well as the ability to see accompanying PDFs for more details. Some favorite recent listens include Musashi, which is a super long samurai epic. I had no idea what I was getting into, but it's turned out to be one of my favorite stories ever. Wow. The Storm Before the Storm, which is about the end of the Roman Republic. Exhalation, which is a collection of short, mind-bending sci-fi stories. Is Atheism Dead? And The Return of the God Hypothesis, which gets into physics, biology, and cosmology. And I actually made a whole podcast episode touching on my worldview a little bit and why it is what it is. I'll link that up for you guys. But here's another tip for you. I made a video a while back about using focus modes, and a focus mode is kind of like do not disturb mode on steroids. But I wish I'd known about being able to to enable emergency bypass for important contacts so that whenever they get in touch, it's always going to break through regardless of the focus or the do not disturb status. So to set it up, you just go into your contact and enable emergency bypass. All right, Twitter. I'm a huge Twitter user, and a big tip for you if you're not doing so already is to use lists. It made Twitter 1,000 times more awesome for me. So a few people I'm following on Twitter include David Perel for his tweets on writing and books, Visualize Value for hits of motivation, Route25 for DeFi and Web3 insights, and then Sean Puri, Justin Welsh, Marshall Haas, and Nathan Barry, among many others, for entrepreneurial insights. And obviously, I think it goes without saying, there's a lot of tech-related accounts, but I'm leaving those out because you guys know about that stuff already. Now, so far, I've resisted signing up for a TikTok account because I figure Instagram and Twitter already waste enough of my precious time. But on Instagram, I'm following accounts like Founder for business motivation, The Local Project because I really like architecture and design, and then brands like Beyond Meat and Hooray Foods, which make insane vegan bacon if you cook it right. It took a lot of tries, but I finally dialed it in. And then Designers Need and Productive Spaces for obvious reasons. And then various other people that I like to keep up with, like Holvey. Here's another tip for you. If, like me, you're in the calculator app a surprising amount of time every day, don't forget that you can swipe left or right to easily erase a number, and that you can also tap and hold on the numbers to copy and paste. All right, let's talk about YouTube. What does a YouTuber watch on YouTube? Well, actually, I try to stay away from other tech videos and channels for the most part because I want to keep my originality as intact as possible. But I do subscribe to channels like Ali Abdaal for a productivity boost, CarWow because Matt Watson's just entertaining, Sean McDowell, Later Clips, because Lou's pretty chill, and also Scott Milker. But here's a cool YouTube tip / music related tip. If you've got Shazam installed, you can go ahead and add it to the control center, and as you're playing music in an app like YouTube, you can hit that button and it will automatically identify whatever the song is or music that's playing in any of your apps, which is pretty useful. All right, Safari, we all have a web browser, but what kind of sites am I personally frequenting? Fact for you, I don't know if you know this, but when Daily Tech was started, it was a blog, and for many years, people knew me. My claim to fame was for making a top 100 websites list. It was super popular every year. I still have people asking me about it. So a few websites that I like to check out include Uncrate, just to browse through, see what's new. I do a decent amount of shopping at Huckberry. I'm there pretty frequently. From time to time, I like to dip into Product Hunt to find some cool new apps. And then I also like to check out evolutionnews.org and also mindmatters.ai. And that's it. I only go to 5 websites. No, that's not true, but I can't sit here and list everything. But super useful Safari tip number 1, don't forget when you take a screenshot, there's also an option to save that entire page. It's like one of those things that's right in front of your face all the time, but you're not expecting it. And so if you haven't used it before, it's almost like invisible. And then number 2, when you're looking at all your open tabs, you can long press on one and then hit close all other tabs, which I do all the time, which is a great way to declutter. Now these days, I actually find like I don't have that much time for gaming, but if I have a few moments to kill, there's one game that I've probably been playing for several months and nothing else really. My wife makes fun of me for playing this as somebody in their late 30s. All right, it's Lego Star Wars Battles from Apple Arcade. I also want to point out that I'm still loving and using the My Mind app, which I don't use for taking notes. I do that in Apple Notes still. But it's become the place where I store things that I really want to remember. I talked about this in the iPad video just the other day because of 2 things. Number 1, the auto tagging, and number 2, the ridiculous search. You can just type in tweets and it will get all the tweets, or blue and everything blue will show up. It's really powerful. Finally, I do want to point out that I have a shortcut to the website Typefully, which is where I prefer to write up the Twitter threads for the new Great Onboarding Twitter account. They don't have a proper app yet, but wow, it's mobile optimized. It just works so good. Finally, something that I use all the time is Filmic Pro. I keep it on deck so that I can take advantage of the iPhone's awesome camera, just in case I don't have my Sony a7S III around. And you guys end up seeing a lot of iPhone content in my videos, probably without even realizing it, most of you, because it's just that good. Now, obviously, there's a lot more on my iPhone that we could talk about, but I don't want to stretch this into infinity, so I'm gonna leave it there. If you guys want to see more, let me know. We can do like a part 2. But in the meantime, the podcast is gonna be on its way back now that I've finished my crypto course. That thing took me like a month and a half, and it was like killer. It almost killed me. But it's up, and now the podcast can return. Also, I would love to connect with you on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Daily Tech, spelled Daily Tekk, in both of those places. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.